Farlost, created by John Miro. 6. Stuart Beecham was in his early 30s, 5.5 feet tall, medium build, black hair, brown skin with a reddish tinge, a world-class intelligence, and a world-class pain in the ass. Lou felt her fists ball up at the sight of Haskell's resident genius. She tried to smile. It felt like she was having an argument with every muscle in her face. The CO's voice was warm and friendly, but he said, "Dr. Beecham, given the radiation storm coming, I must ask you to follow us up to the CNC. Quickly, sir." Beecham pushed himself out of the airlock door, but didn't let go of the bar on the inside until his other hand patted the external wall and found one mounted on the airlock housing. "I'm a physicist, Dwyer." The features on his young face contorted with effort. "I know more about what's coming than you do. And, Somehow, Beecham managed to slam his face into the airlock housing as he pulled himself through. Lou's smile became more natural, as Beecham's air of superiority, along with his forehead, was marred by a red welt. He finally got his other hand on the bar and floated there, glaring over his shoulders at the others assembled. "Look, there's 20 minutes before the first extra rays get here, so how about you cut out the Chicken Little act?" "Dr. Beecham hasn't completely adapted to zero-G," said Beecham's assistant, who, Lou noted, had already bounced out of the airlock to the far wall and was headed back to where his boss awkwardly floated. The kid smiled to the commander. "Perhaps he could follow along on the conveyor?" The kid was trying his damnedest to help the officers get their boss to cooperate without raising his ire. Lou appreciated that. Beecham didn't. "What do you think? I just stepped off the reservation? It's my 5th spaceflight, Rennick." Beecham glared at Stan as he struggled to keep his body in an imitation of standing. Just for the hell of it, Lou flipped her orientation upside down relative to Beecham as she floated across to Stan near the blue-painted slot that ran the length of the tank. Rubberized tubing extended from it, resembling a tiny ladder with a subway strap at the end. "By all means, Doctor." She reached behind and tapped the pad to activate the conveyor. "It's a very simple contraption. You just have to hold on, Dr. Beecham. Even a child could do it." Lou took perverse glee in the deepening scowl on Beecham's face. She knew his story. Raised on a reservation in the West, multiple degrees while still in his teens, fantastically rich and universally respected. Well, she amended, respected by anyone that hadn't met him. The off-the-charts genius didn't have to play well with others when his every whim was seen to by Haskell. Lou wondered briefly if he'd ventured out into space so much because he was a Type A overachiever who couldn't bear to let others press the buttons he invented, or if he really loved the work himself. "Of course a child could do it," Beecham sniffed. "It was built for cashiered-out soldiers like you or retirees like Dwyer. Can't be too taxing now, can it?" Lou felt a cold anger fill her. She'd be damned if she'd let anyone talk to her CO like that. She and Taggart began to shout something at the same time, but another voice, loud and clear, overrode them. "I don't care if the entire Haskell board thinks you're the second coming of Hawking, Doctor. Talk to my crew like that again, and I will punt you to the end of this tank myself. Are we clear?" Lou stared at Dwyer. She saw Taggart smiling proudly just over his shoulder. Her own smile grew huge. Beecham sneered at Dwyer and opened his mouth to retort. His eyes catalogued something on the commander's face, and the sneer fell away. "Fine, we're clear," he said quickly. He reached for the handle at the start of the long blue slot. It was just out of reach, and stretching for it sent him off balance. He bounced himself off the wall again. Lou truly was proud of herself for swallowing her laughter. Beecham slapped Stan's hand away and successfully reached the conveyor on his second try. He yelped as he started moving forward and held on tight with both hands, his body arching comedically. Beecham didn't exactly sneer now. Lou had figured being almost literally hoisted along on his petard would take the attitude out of the man, but still, for the first time, the super genius pain in the ass wore a look she could sympathize with. He looked hurt. Taggart, Dwyer called, something in his voice confirming he was also sympathetic. He waved a hand towards Beecham. Yes, sir, the security officer acknowledged, and kicked off to help escort the ill-mannered civilian. Stan shrugged apologetically at them both and kicked off expertly towards the CNC. Lou wasn't sure, but she thought she saw a little smile at his boss's expense hiding on that youthful face. Dwyer shook his head as he watched them float down the tank, then caught the expression on Lou's face. He grinned. You're wondering why I said that when I'm always telling you to shut up and take it, right? Well, he can talk to me that way all day long, but not my officers. Not one time. That's a hard line for me. His eyes twinkled with mischief. Don't worry. I'm good with the hypocrisy. Lou opened her mouth to thank him when something wet hit her in the face. Dwyer's face went slack. A red dot had appeared on his cheek just below his right eye. The commander's whole body had relaxed and begun to spin away from the airlock. Ed? She grabbed him by the shoulder and pulled him towards her. The motion reversed and sped up his body's spin, and a moment later Lou was staring at the back of the commander's head. Or what was left of it. Her eyes widened in horror. The back of his skull was gone. She looked around, not comprehending how a bullet could have ended Ed Dwyer's life out here in space. Then she heard the hiss. Hammering impacts sounded against the tank walls. Depressurization alarms and red lights started thundering and strobing. Something slammed into her, and her left arm erupted in searing pain and hung limp at her side. Looking around for some sign of what had just happened, she instinctively reached for her arm. Her hand came away wet and red. Lou struggled with the pain of her wound, fought not to black out. Was it an attack? Had something on 6 exploded? What the hell was happening? Farlost. Music by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com. Learn more at servingworlds.com.